All right, welcome everybody. It is August 30th, 2022, and this is the bi-weekly Cloud Custodian community meeting. As always, we do record and put these on YouTube, so be cognizant of that. And also, as always, we are under the CNCF Code of Conduct, so please be excellent to each other. I am pasting the notes in the side chat there. If this is your first meeting, it's an open agenda. So feel free to add stuff there, or you can type, or you can just interrupt when I ask if there's any other, or raise your hand when I ask if there's any other things to go over. And yeah, so we do have a packed agenda today with lots of stuff for us to kick the tires with, Sonny. Yeah, like that. So let me take care of some of the introduction first. Anyone have anything burning or anything so far? Okay, awesome. All right. Some governance update. So following along on the agenda here, we do have some governance updates. I've linked to the GitHub issue there. That's GitHub issue 7149. It's kind of a long-term thing that we just have pinned there. If you have time to go take a look. Shouldn't be any surprises. It looks a lot like other cloud native CNCF projects there. Did someone have a Kapil? You got a
just quick question, because I've been digging into some of the CNCF commentary, let's say, on some of the other stuff as far as governance. And I was curious, would you regard this as a change to the existing governance structure?
I would say is a codification of what we are doing, but also adding titles to things that we're doing that we didn't do before, right? So you were kind of like you're the de facto maintainer, but you didn't have a document that said, only Kapil can be the maintainer. You know what I mean?
Well,
so
yeah, and I would say that we have over a dozen maintainers. It's really a question,
right?
Who shows up to help do the work?
Yeah.
I was basically just asking you from a perspective with regards to, hey, we're now in incubating, which I don't know if we actually said that in a community meeting yet. I don't know. We have.
So we have passed all the votes, and we're in the middle of getting the PR business done with the CNCF, and at some point they will announce that we are now incubating.
Yeah, it was just the governance question was really just about wanting to have a year in track on any regime per se, and whether or not we were changing or codifying what was extant. But other than that, just curious.
Yeah, I think the biggest difference was for me, having wrote it and gone through it, is we actually have different roles and responsibilities written down as to what's expected. Whereas I think before it's like, hey, you're a maintainer in the AWS, and that comes with like implied responsibilities. And I think we're codifying things that we kind of feel are community conventions. Like if you're a maintainer in AWS, we should probably expect that you will be doing PRs in that section of the code or reviews in that section of the code. And before we didn't really write that down. As far as
definitely encourage everyone to have a look at that issue if you're interested in governance.
Yeah. Because a lot of it is like, if you're going to be a maintainer, you're expected to do, and I think the number was like 30 PRs or whatever. However, I did leave because I know a lot of projects are starved for attention, right? And what we don't want is you get a new excited person that's really interested and they're doing stuff, and you say, sorry, you can't be a maintainer. You've only done 28 PRs. You know what I mean? So I leave the existing maintainers always kind of have the, you're a maintainer, you can use your brain and say, nope, we trust this person now. We feel they've done the amount of work. We can override that. So I've given us, I call that the relief valve, but then we also kind of say 30-ish is what we expect for you to work with the, with the code base. Obviously if it's 30 trivial PRs, the maintainer who's mentoring them obviously wouldn't just say, well, George, you edited the docs 30 times, therefore now you can be an AWS maintainer. Subsystem wouldn't work either, right? So we kind of set those as guidelines and have the relief valve for the maintainers. I would say is kind of the adaptation that I've made to how what I observed we're behaving, and what is written down there, because I also didn't want to go in there and be like, we should change how we do the whole project because, we're trying to fit into the model. Yeah, that's why this is an issue and not a PR, because I wanted to see, where the outliers were, if there's anything. But if generally speaking, everyone's like, sounds good to me, we're just kind of writing it down, then that will make it a little easier. So, any other questions on that issue? Yeah, and that does bring up the CNCF incubation. So the CNCF talk voted, we're going to be incubated. We're just we have to write a press release with the CNCF where we put quotes and things like that, and that's in progress. Darren, you're going to get an email from Umair asking for you to put a comment. Usually they ask maintainers to say a thing about the project, and there's like kind of a skeleton there. So expect some email there. And anybody else have any questions about the CNCF stuff? All right, cool. That should be a lot of fun. Next, we have governance as code day. CFPs are still open. I know at least 2 of you in this room have submitted. Thank you for that. We are going to keep extending that though. So if you still want to do a CFP, that's fine. Please also be aware that they don't have to be full, like 60-minute sessions. We do have on the form there for 10-minute, 20-minute talks. So if you have a thing that's like not like a huge thing, but you feel it'd be useful for the community, for sure, feel free to submit to that. And I've left links to the CFP form and all that stuff here. And then I'll just pasting in the notes there again for those of you that are just joining. And lastly, we're testing Slack. Steve, we found it was easier for us to just set up our own Slack than it was to get AJ into the FinOps Slack. So we set that up. It's going to be cloud-custodian.slack.com.
Yeah, I just got it.
Yeah, I have a link to the inviter there. So if you want to join in, kick the tires, we've got an automated bot that shows the PRs and issues as they're coming in. We've got a channel. We got a dev channel now. So I think before it was like you had to wait until this meeting to bother someone to have them look at your PR. Now you can do it in Slack in real time if you want to do that. And we can kind of organize it the way we want. So what the plan I'm going to do for now, we don't have archiving yet, which will be important because Slack only keeps 90 days of rolling. So I'm investigating some current tools. We will figure that out. So we'll kick the tires for now, but we're still quite a ways from saying, hey, we're going to quote unquote move from Gitter and things like that. However, if you do prefer Slack and want to get in there, give us some feedback on how it's going. So far, every time I've asked, people are like, oh, finally we're moving to Slack, but I do want to make sure that we do cover for people who, might be stuck not using Slack, or, one of the concerns we've always had is, what if Slack is banned at your job and you have to use Cloud Custodian? Do they have a method of, doing that? So I am interested in all that feedback.
I would also just add that we're not stopping Gitter per se.
Right.
At the time, like Gitter will continue to be available. We're just opening up an additional channel. If there's any show of hands for people that can't use Slack, definitely curious to hear that. But I will otherwise assume that default is Slack School.
Yeah. And if you have other coworkers or colleagues and you prefer to use Slack for all your stuff and want to send them invites, just send them to that URL, which let me paste that in chat so I have it. And this page here will automatically render them an invite and send it to them, and it'll do the right thing. And it will, as soon as you click on it, it'll open in the client and everything. It's actually pretty nice. I was concerned that the onboarding would be hard, but so far not bad. Anything else? So that's the end of the formal agenda before we start looking at PRs and cool stuff. I know Sonny's got something he wants to show everyone today. Anybody have anything burning that they'd like to discuss?
Yes. But
Okay.
Not burning. Can wait.
Okay. All right. So first things first, Sonny, you want to go first because your any support and value filters thing that you want to talk about depends on this. So.
Oh, right. So I talked to Kapil about that this morning.
Okay.
It might go into a different direction, but it still is sort of relevant. I guess, do you want to talk about Kubernetes now or later?
Anybody want to see Kubernetes now, or do we want to go in order?
I'm interested.
Yeah. Let's get out of the
Alright.
way. Yeah.
Okay, sure. So I'll just share the screen.
Okay, later.
Okay. So I don't know if any of y'all have been paying attention to the PRs, but there is a pull request here, 7697. It adds a new mode on the Kubernetes provider called Kate's Validator. Name might change in the future. This is all up to debate. But basically, this implements a admission controller on your Kubernetes cluster that will allow you to write policies that filter on your resources and allow you to either allow, deny, or warn on any incoming resources. So I've got this running. Right now it's just on EC2 with a load balancer in front of it. But basically, if we go to if we hit the admission controller with a get, you get your policies back. In which case, we can see we have some policies that are saying when we get this custom resource type policy reports. Yep.
Sorry to interrupt. Can you bump the font size up like 1 or 2?
Yes.
Thank you.
There we go. Basically saying on match, we warn when you create, and then there's one that says like you can't run Nginx. So anytime you try to create a deployment in Kubernetes that has Nginx in there as the image, then we'll deny it. Again, this value type stuff is this will change in the future. It's not as based off of a branch. So if we run our manifest, we'll bump this up a little bit. So you can see in this manifest, I'll try this back to what it was before. We have Nginx as an image, so if we do apply manifest, oh shoot, I think I had. This might be off of the wrong branch. But in any case, I'll show you the log line and what it's supposed to look like. So basically, you'll get this here saying failed admission due to policies, and then it'll give you the list of policies as well as the description. So if you need to tell your users like you have to have labels, these are the required labels, etc. You can include that in the message. And it will also tell you multiple failures as well. So it won't require your users to continually try to apply the manifest and then run into the same issue over and over again. Additionally, it supports warnings. So in this case, it says, you try to create this custom resource, this policy report resource, and it gives you a warning, but it's still allowed to create it. And then we also support generating out the validating webhook configuration manifest. So in this case, this might change in the future to a mutating webhook configuration, but for now, it'll inspect the policies that you have in your policy directory and then generate the resulting rules that you need to keep. So that way you're not getting every single Kubernetes API server event. And then I think the last bit was it supports all of the operations, so creation, update, connect, delete. On deletion, it'll inspect the previous objects, aka what is about to be deleted. That way, you can say like, if you're trying to delete something that's I don't know, like mission critical, like can never go down, you can have a policy inspect that and make sure that doesn't happen. It's missing a few docs as well as some policy examples, but that is that's the progress on that. I'll give it back to George.
This is pretty cool. But my question is this similar to what OPA Gatekeeper is doing? I don't know if you heard of that.
Yes, yeah. So I think a lot of people don't really like writing or reading Rego.
Oh,
And this is mainly focused on people that are, already using Custodian for their governance and basically want to write the same type of rules that you would write for like tag enforcement, label enforcement, stuff like validating images are coming from your registry, stuff like that. Not every feature, like I'm not gonna say we have like feature parity with OPA out of the gate or anything like that. Mostly because I don't know the entire landscape of what OPA supports, but it's definitely something that we want to, add additional features to down the line.
pretty cool though. Yeah.
I would be super excited. I mean, I don't know if it's native per se, but it would be awesome to be able to create like a Lambda with a function URL that I could then just set up like as the emission controller, so I don't have to worry about the operations of my cluster depending on my cluster for enforcement. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right now I'd say the like operations side of things is very immature in terms of documentation and different examples, but I think we'll have some samples. I know John Anderson is working on getting some documentation for like setting up with EKS, go into the full flow and stuff like that. So, but yeah, function URL would be really cool. I think the only call out there is wanting to be platform agnostic on Kubernetes to some extent. Most of it's not everyone's running in AWS that's running Kubernetes. So,
maybe for those that don't know, who is Mr. Anderson?
oh yes, he is not from the Matrix, but the he's from Stacklet. He's Kubernetes. Has been in the Kubernetes community for a bit. Bunch of blogs and stuff. He works at Stacklet. So
Cool. Thank you. This is super awesome.
Yeah. Does anybody else have any opinions on this?
I guess there's a question of like how many people here are running Kubernetes at the company.
Yeah, that was kind of my yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's more and more, right? We have people coming in from on-prem into the cloud, acquisitions and things that are running currently in Kubernetes, and they're not going to switch to like ECS or anything. So they're just going to put their whole their whole load into EKS. So, and we already run Custodian across everything, so it would be good for that. Yeah, it's great. I mean, I wish you could just tell people not to use it. It's kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that when we're building this, we're not doing it in a vacuum, like
I'll
the-
try. I'll
yeah,
I'll try.
the more feedback we get early, the better. And if any of you are coming to KubeCon, Sonny, are you coming to KubeCon?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we can definitely hang out there and like kick the tires and do more high bandwidth discussions if you have lots of Kubernetes and want to do lots of Custodian things. So cool. And then the bug for that is
the PR number for that was
7697. I'm just going to put it in chat here where you have it, but it will be in the show notes. Cool. Anything else Kubernetes related before we move on?
More stuff to come.
Yeah. So I know as a result of you doing this, Sonny, you had a thing about each and any support and value filters, but it sounds like you had a discussion about this.
Yeah, so
Is it 703? No, that's
Yeah.
Elasticache.
no, that was it was just something I had on a branch on my fork. This came up just while doing that, like sort of matching images over a list, and the common question of like, how do I do regex over a list on a value filter, or other types of operations on individual items on a list. I don't know if the direction of that branch is I don't think it's the final direction we want to go. So I can table that for now, unless people wants to talk about it.
I think it's worth the discussion in the broader group. Like, so I think Sonny has a draft PR up that is going to extend value filter to trying to deal with lists, let's say. But there's, I think, something, as a core capability in Custodian, one thing that I feel like it's been lacking is this notion of there's a list of dictionaries and you want to do a multi-attribute, a multi-key match, let's say, in that on an item in that list. And so treating that as a first-class citizen feels like a better path. Like thinking about AWS security group ingress, let's say, or egress. Like we have rules and you want to do a multi-attribute value match, or, Lambda function URLs. Like there's dozens of these examples where you have a rich data structure in an array and you want to match multiple attributes of it, and treating that as a first-class entity with a dedicated syntax is sort of one direction to go into, where we just compose the value filter as opposed to extending it with directly. And I think that allows for clear expression of intent without overloading the value filter code, which is already a little bit gnarly by itself. But yeah, just curious for feedback, and I'll hand the mic back.
Yeah, I would say I think any form of that would be good, because right now it's incredibly, like, you can do some of the things I mentioned before, like regex over list, but it is incredibly hacky, and you have to basically just use the James path REPL and try to do like string concatenation and stuff like that to get it to work. Even then, it's not like a super the correctness of the expression is not necessarily in line with what your intents are all the time. So I think with the sub, I don't know what to call it, but basically composing the value filter, I'll try to get a something up for that, maybe like by the end of this week or next week or something. Because I think it is necessary, especially with the Kubernetes stuff. Like, it's very evident that like the filtering you want to do on your deployment spec or your pod spec, it's like you have to have that capability basically for it to be useful.
All right. Anything else on this? You've got the next one, which is Elasticache metrics as well.
Oh, that one was just the question was around like not seeing the right metrics. I guess just a call out for in general for the metrics filter to double check that the resource type actually has the proper dimensions and statistics that you're looking for. In this case, Elasticache is a little bit, I don't know if it's tricky, but there's there's two different resource types. There's a cache cluster as well as a replication group. And it was just a matter of they were trying to use the wrong resource type. So
Okay, cool. And looks like that was resolved. So, all right. Thanks for that. Next one we have 5971. Oh, this one.
Yep. Any progress on what we can do with respect to the CLA? We've been waiting for this for quite a bit. I don't know if it's worth it to have one of us submit a new PR based off of this.
Like, I've submitted a help ticket to the CNCF, but it took 2 weeks to fix my accounts because I had two, and due to my past history, like I was assigned to VMware, so I had like the wrong stuff. But I was able to file a ticket, and I haven't really gotten anything yet. However, like I can't find a real like solution to this that isn't an admin going in there and then just like forcing them to sign the CLA. I don't know. Kapil, what do you think? Should we just like rework this?
So on a project legal basis, I think we've got reasonable coverage on what's already there. So the question is, do we merge what's already extant because effectively it came over as part of the transition?
Mm-hmm.
And then we just rework it in trunk per se with a separate follow-up PR would be, I just don't know. I'd have to look at this PR again just to understand if it's disruptive by itself as is, let's say. Like, but in general, like if the work came over prior to the migration to CNCF, then it was covered under a pre-existing CLA, and it was transferred as part of the project IP with its contributions and extent PRs to the CNCF, at which point it's fine. It's just then it's just a question of merging it and then doing the fix-up work afterwards. And then the risk is just the fix-up work afterwards and what's in trunk being disruptive for some period of time prior to release, which is fine. It's just a question of how much. And this is also on the sets aside, or this is also on the item and list scenario, isn't it? Yeah. Okay.
On the what?
The item and list conversation from earlier.
Oh, okay. So what should the next action on this one be?
So, and it was already re-signed the CLA. Can we just do a /CLA trigger to get this thing to trigger again? Oh, he's got multiple.
Yeah, like I'm wondering if he were to just do a rewrite, if that would cover it.
Can you trigger the CLA on it? I think it's a /easy CLA.
Yeah.
Let's see, like 2 of those commits should be cleared by now. I mean, AJ's should be cleared for sure.
I mean, usually it's kicked off by now.
Or maybe it's saying there's been no commits. There's at least one commit, so it should. So I think I'm generally game for this one. Just to go ahead and deal with it. I think what I've seen from in the easy CLA's CNCF Slack is, if you feel strongly about it, do it and deal with it.
All right.
It
So
sounds like you still want to do a final review of it, all right?
I would, or Sonny or anyone else. I think Darren, if you've already had a chance to review it, as well. If you could comment to that effect, if you already have, then that's good.
I think both AJ and I we have reviewed it.
Okay. Then I'll take a look just to, because this one's a little bit weird as far as the CLA and
Yeah, this has been a thorn in our side for like 9 months. I feel like.
no, yeah, I know. Well, we
Yeah, I
4
know.
months ago, try to get Austin to do the CLA bit, but
Yeah,
that's a work.
distributed open source is hard. I get it. All right. So what's the next action then? Kapil, do you want to do one final review? Darren, are you merging it? What are we doing?
I'll take one last look, and I'll deal with it just so I can deal with the CNC if there's any CNCF fallout aspects to it.
Okay.
I'm happy to go down that road.
All right, cool.
I feel like we've got a pretty justified lug here.
Yeah. All right. Any questions on this one before we move on? Cool. All right, next we have, hold on, let me move on to view mode here. This one's your Sunny signing the Docker images. You want to give us the latest we got going on here?
Yeah, so the Docker image building has been moved into GitHub Actions. Though I think on master there's an issue with the actual workflow YAML, but there's a fix inside of this PR to address that. This utilizes the 6-store keyless signing, which means that for those that are using the Custodian images, it will upload the signature and manifest and stuff into Docker as well. So if you're pulling and you have requirements in your, let's say, Kubernetes validator controller in the future to validate that images are signed, this would allow your compliance tools to be in compliance. There's a few things that are a little dicey with this right now. So it's not, I would say right now it's not ready to merge. There's some investigation stuff that has to go on, mostly due to the fact that we're doing a multi-architecture build. So there's just some nuance there that we got to figure out. But yeah, the hope is once that gets in, then all of the images that we're building get signed automatically on push. So.
And it's worth pulling out. In worst case, we may just sign x86 images and not ARM, just based on just based on some of the idiosyncrasies on the building tools here.
And I do have a quick question. Are we automatically doing like a Trivy scan every time we're building this? Is that what this is?
We do, yes.
Oh,
so
cool.
We do a Trivy scan, and then we also have a light suite of tests that we run on the images to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Okay.
And to be fair, we've done the Trivy scan for a year. We're not currently doing like a fail of critical type of thing, which would be another's like, it's a forest falling in the tree at the moment, or tree falling in the forest.
Is there an error like is there like a warn on the action? Like what happens if, I'm just curious, if it's not blocking?
It'll just show up in the logs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Has that happened before? I'm just curious. Yeah.
Has it happened before? Yes. Like almost every Docker image that's based on any base distro will flag for some things as, mostly useless warnings, but at different levels. I mean, there's a separate question here on should we fail on mapping a critical per se, what does that mean? And if it does fail, we generally do notice, I think, on build images that are persistent, but I think our worst case track record is like almost 2 weeks. But yeah, just so right now, Trivy is informational and in logs only.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. I didn't know we were doing that. Neato. Okay, anything else? Anyone have a chance to bang on the ARM images at all?
I used it. It worked. I didn't really do anything fancy.
All right.
but it did work fine. Like I just put it in place of my image, and I didn't have any issues. So I mean, I didn't put it in any running jobs, but I'll spend more time on it.
Cool.
One other thing on that front is once we have ARM images, we will probably start moving to, I think, defaulting architecture on the Lambda functions we provision to matching the architecture of the host. So if you're on an ARM host, you'll deploy ARM Lambdas.
Oh, that's cool.
But that's still work to be done. But I think that's generally what thinking is, just in case there are any. For the most part, we're pure Python, but there are definitely some things which have extensions that we need to respect the underlying host installation for.
One thing to note is it's huge compared to, because it's got all the providers in it, and I only use the AWS provider most of the time. So that's really the biggest difference I saw from what I normally use.
Yeah, so it's a good question. We providers are parameterized in the Docker image build. We do currently default to building all of them.
Right.
Is there interest in just getting cloud provider specific images?
Maybe like in Terraform, you pull the provider. I don't know. So like in Terraform, we'll pull the provider we need. The Terraform image would be different than the providers. But I don't know. I mean, it's not that big a deal. It's what is it?
Yeah, I think our target for shift left and like targeting Terraform would be a separate actually CLI front end, just because the experience when operating against source is a little different. But I may have mixed signal there. So
Are you're referencing more like when you do like a Terraform init that it pulls
when it pulls the AWS provider? Right. Yeah.
Right.
It
Yeah,
might be
it's a
worth
little tricky.
filing it, just so we have it.
I'm just happy it's there now.
Yeah, I know, but like,
and it's not too. I mean, it's not affecting me. It pulls fine. It's not. I have jammed in the ECS or ECL.
Yeah, I mean, when we drop it Azure, we effectively go to like, I don't know, 500 to 800 meg image to a 250 meg image.
Right. Yeah, that was what I saw too.
I mean, it might be worth filing so we remember it in the future. Who knows? I mean, we might have someone that it affects them and they might be interested in doing that. Okay. Anything else Docker or ARM related? All right, moving on. An init skeleton for 10-cent cloud. This showed up one day. This is you, Kapil, I think.
It's not me. I'm reviewing it.
Sorry. I'm you were the last one to review it.
Yeah. So the Tencent reached out and is interested in creating a provider for their cloud. There's going to be some ongoing work on this over the next few weeks, and so if you use Tencent, then feel free to chime in. Most of the team that's, I think, working on this is running out of China from a time zone perspective, but TLDR, we're in CNCF. If there's other cloud providers that are of interest, feel free to reach out via GitHub. I know Oracle Cloud's also expressed some interest over time, so but hasn't really committed yet. So, but if there's other people that are interested in other cloud providers on this call or in the larger community, feel free to file an issue and express interest. I know we've got, I think one of the challenges has always been just making sure that we have environments like that the maintainers have access to an environment in which to test. Tencent is providing that environment in this context. I know we've had, there's, I think, at least one outstanding issue against OpenStack as well that is gated on some of, I think, maintainer access into an OpenStack environment. So, but I'll leave that aside and just generally say, in general, we're just part of additional cloud providers, and this is a cloud provider that's directly wanting to contribute support for it.
And 10-cent cloud, like written like this, is that like what the package name will eventually be and stuff from like a naming reason?
Yeah, it's what they already do in Terraform and other stuff. Like
Okay.
it matches their SDK and their Terraform provider.
Okay.
Context.
All right.
It's a bit wordy. Agreed. But
yeah. So in pip, it'll be C7N-10-cent cloud, just like that, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Awesome. All right. Some more cloud providers. That's always good. Whose is this one? AWS output. Try to determine bucket region without a client. This is AJ. Sonny Pertushu had a comment here.
Yeah, I think this was an issue on the latest release. We got hit by it. Looks like if the bucket is cross-region and cross-account, the APIs are not able to detect the location of the bucket. I think I should have a sample event posted on an issue somewhere. But yeah, I kind of tested this and looks like it fixes the issue for now. So yeah.
Okay. I know AJ wanted to bring this one, but he was unable to attend today. So thanks for the summary there. Anything else on this one? Docker, we covered that already. I don't think we need to cover 7669. This SQLite cache file, Kapil, we merged this already. Do we want to give it another quick TLDR or?
Not really. I mean, it should improve memory. There's, I think, one extent issue that AJ's got that I'm going to try to address this week. But
okay.
Actually, I should probably call that. This is currently that other issue file is probably also a release blocker.
Yeah. See, look, kicking the tires. That's like a.
But it should have very significant memory improvements for people running lots of policies as far as peak memory consumption.
All right. And then I know we have a few issues. ECR metrics filter support.
This actually just went into master.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so you can, right now, it's just repository pull count. So if you're looking for any ECR repos that are not in use, this would be the way to do it.
Nice. All right, that was quick turnaround. And C7ID to resources.json.
Yeah, this one was interesting. Kapil posted a comment about putting this into the metadata JSON. I think exposing more of the custodian model there would also make sense. So stuff like ARN or the name key, ID key, stuff like that. I don't know if anyone else has any comments on that.
Kapil, anything to add other than what you left on the post on that one?
I didn't really. Oh yeah, like I kind of feel like we should drop it into metadata as opposed to creating a bunch of duplicate data in the resources JSON. Was kind of where I was leaning, but I was trying to see if there was going to be any follow up from the original poster to that comment.
Got you. All right. And then we have another one here from Baby. Wants to look at 7709.
Hey, yeah.
Oh, hi.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a simple change. Like I was adding the KMS key filter for the secrets manager resource. So this is my first PR for this open source cloud custodian.
All right.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Let's see what we got here.
Yeah, I think the main thing that was on your PR was the EZCLA was missing, but it looks like you signed it now. So
Yeah, if you check it now, I think it's covered now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I just kicked off the CI on that like a minute or two ago, so we'll see. But otherwise, it looks straightforward. So, and thank you for contributing.
Amazing. Question for you. When you went in and clicked and everything, did you just get green right away, or?
No, I didn't get it like a green right away. Like I submitted the request for my corporate, like the manager, and then
Got
I
you.
had to do like one more step. Like after that is done, I have to go into my PR and then click on the not covered again, and then I have to
Okay.
reselect the corporate CLA manager, and that's when like it changed into covered.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I actually go through the same thing with one of my coworkers. I was just granted manager access for CLA. And
Right.
actually, when you ask somebody to authorize it, they have a pop-up that say, yeah, that person have to go through and click that thing again. I thought
Yes.
they should just make it such a sync up rather than make
They
it.
should drop the easy.
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
thinking like maybe my ID was incorrect, like in the commit message, or like I was banging my head from yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as alluded to, that previous Easy CLA one that had all those commit like messed up, like they gave me manager access and I went in there and then I tried to fix it and then it just got all sorts of convoluted. And then their instructions were just, well, submit a PR and just follow the instructions. And I was like, that's exactly what I'm doing. Okay. I'm glad to see that someone was able to click through and get the green box on your first PR, because like that like keeps me up at night. So well, welcome. Thank you. All right, who's gonna review this? Do we oops, I missed it.
yeah, I could take a look at it.
All right,
7709.
here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks straightforward. It's using the subclass, so it might just be a few things here or there. It looks like there's like a linting issue, probably on the test. But it should be easy enough to
Cool.
figure out. I'll follow up in the PR.
Yeah. And then one of the things I'm kind of stealing from Kubernetes when I set up the Slack stuff is there's a channel, a developer channel, where people can idle in, and if you have a PR that you're stuck on or something, instead of waiting 2 weeks to come to this meeting to, hey, I'd like someone to look at the PR. The idea there is to hopefully, if you've got time or cycles, to sit in the channel and help review PRs, or kind of do more of a asynchronous work, as opposed to, there's been times, Darren, where it's like, oh, I gotta wait 2 weeks to link up with Darren. Now we can hopefully tighten up that feedback loop. So thanks for that. All right, and looking, that is, we've gotten through everything. So
2 topics. I guess one of them already got covered.
Sure.
10% and shift left. On the shift lefty thing, so parsing Terraform is really hard, and we have switched tracks from trying to do it ourselves in Python to realizing that the only way to do Terraform parsing is in Go, and beyond that, also realizing that Terraform, it's not simply an ACL parse, it's all the expressions inside of Terraform. So we've created a binding for a project called DeathSec from Okta Security, and so we're using that to do Terraform parsing and evaluation of expressions and all that stuff, so that we can actually get a much higher fidelity. And we're doing that as a Python extension, so that it is that we can run the rest of the custodian machinery through it. So what that means is effectively system in Terraform is going to become deprecated. I don't know that anyone actually used it. I was looking at it the other day and was like, it's just a parser, it doesn't really do anything useful. And we also want this to be a front end to other IAC as code resources. So in the future, CloudFormation or Azure resource templates, etc. But we're going to aim for Terraform at the start. I would love anyone's consideration on naming C7 and IAC. Makes me want to go yak. But acronym overload. But I'm actually thinking that we might just pick out like a random name that C7 and cephalopod or something, like just to have something that's completely divorced of the exact naming, because the exact name like C7 and source also came to mind. But naming's hard. If anyone has suggestions as far as doing the shift left, our shift left front end, it'll be a different front end, CLI front end. It won't just simply be the custodian front end, partly because we want to be able to do source annotations and have nice outputs that are geared towards developers. And CLI left is nice, but
and we can't call it C7
my
and
left, which one's my right?
C7 and Terraform doesn't make sense, right? Because you want to generalize it, or
correct. We want to the same front end will run over multiple IAC source systems, and we want to have that a little bit agnostic. But the Python Go extension will be for Terraform parsing itself. Will be a new library under the Custodian organization. GitHub organization will be a new repo, independent, because people might use it for other purposes, and we'll just have that there. And I expect to see that published before the next community meeting.
Oh, okay.
Will the policy syntax be
It'll be
different,
the same. We'll be running the Python Custodian engine on top of it. We're just using the Go extension just for the purposes of parsing and resolving form references per se. We had tried using the Python HCL2 parser, and it works sometimes. It's a little bit fragile. Like you have this random white space comment in and it breaks, and like it wasn't a great experience, and it wasn't getting us to the high fidelity around, hey, you've got expressions and variables, and the entire function language is exposed inside of Terraform, using something that's a little bit more closer to first party. Using something that actually uses the upstream Terraform Golang parser as well as does the interpolation in that space is super helpful. But to answer your question, yes, it'll still be the policies will look the same, because it'll actually be the same policy engine, just driving that parse step via a Go extension, a Python extension of Go.
What was the name of that? You said DevSec Golang, but I need
DevSec Golang. DevSec in Golang is the upstream project that we're binding to, and then the downstream project that we'll be releasing on Cloud Custodian, I think it's going to be called TF Parse, just to denote that it's parsing Terraform as opposed to just the HCL portion. But that should be publicly released in the next 2 weeks. I think we're just working on some CI bits to get
Awesome.
that, and the multi-arch building bits to make sure it works for people regardless of their OS and laptop distributor.
Awesome. Yeah, can you PM me in Slack the URL? DevSec in Golang does not Google very well. Is there like a GitHub repo or
do DevSec GitHub? You should pop. It's under Office Security.
Dev-Sex?
Dev
It's like hardening.
DEFSEC GitHub should probably here. Oh, okay, never mind. I'll make
Yeah,
it's just, get it.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a very common. I just learned that's a very common term in GitHub. Like,
fair enough.
I'm finding a lot of examples. Frameworks.
Fair enough.
Def. Okay, got you. Sweet. Okay. Yeah, I want to make sure we got that in the notes. That's all. Awesome.
Is this a JSON parser in general or just Terraform parser?
No, it is very specific to Terraform. I mean, DevSec is used for lots of different things, or it's a general library for many different things. But one of the things it does have that we're particularly interested in is a full parser and evaluator for Terraform syntax. So if you have expressions and function calls and et cetera inside of your Terraform, we've used it. We've already tested it against a couple hundred real world Terraforms, and it generally is one of the few things that will pass muster for our purposes. But it is not general. It is very specific.
Cool.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Thanks, Aqua. All right. And
to
that
be clear, we're not parsing the JSON. We'll try to parse the actual HCL so that we can, when we give feedback about, hey, go fix this, go change this part's broken, that we're actually able to reference the actual module definition or the block definition directly in the source file.
got you. All right, and that wraps it up. Unless anyone has anything else, we'll reconvene in 2 weeks. Going once, going twice. Those of you in the US, enjoy the long holiday. And yeah, I'll see you all on Slack and Gitter. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right.
Cheers.